I've said it before on this channel, and I'll say it again. I love it when a series comes back from the dead. We've seen many games come back from their hypothetical graves, such as Deus Ex or Thief, or even Superman 64. But what if a movie comes back from the grave? Well, I don't normally talk about movies on this channel, but today we're going to talk about Mad Max. And wait, don't click off yet. This is going to tie back into games because there's a new Mad Max game coming out. And no, it doesn't seem like one of those crappy games that tie in with a movie to crucify it. I mean, I'm looking at you, E.T. No, today in New Age Army, we're going to look at the new Mad Max game. But what should we look into? How about some of the vehicles in the series? Nah, that's too Top Gear-ish. How about the science of some of the weapons in Mad Max? Nah, talk about weapons a lot. I mean, it seems like we're always talking about the weapons in games. I mean, we talked about ones in Fallout, and God of War. But if you want to click on those, be my guest, they're right there. But let's not talk about that. Today, my friends, we are going to be talking about something a bit darker. So without further ado, today on the New Age Gamers, we're going to talk about the setting and environment of Mad Max, and learn why we are closer to that insane world than we previously thought.
Right, so before you click out of this video, we need to break down why Mad Max is what it is. What caused the end of civilization? What is this infamous series about? Was it because PC finally defeated consoles? Nah. It is stated that part of the downfall of civilization is a shortage of a critical resource: oil. Interesting enough, oil powers our society. Everything from cars to fertilizer to petroleum jelly. Why we're talking about petroleum jelly, I don't know. With all this oil consumption, it begs the question, how much oil is really left in the world? British Petroleum, otherwise known as BP, says that there is only 1,687.9 billion barrels left in the world. 1,687 barrels seems like a lot, but alarmingly, it's not enough. BP states that with the current consumption rates, we only have about 53 years left. Many of our viewers will still be alive in 53 years, so will we see the oil drying up and society falling into a Mad Max ruin? Well, not quite. That number BP gave out has panned by many critics because as technology gets better, we are able to access deeper oil in ways like fracking. Also, we are becoming more of a green society day by day. Captain Planet would be proud. Every day we see more and more windmills and solar panels go up, relieving the stress on our oil reserves. Ironically enough, when the first Mad Max was made, the world was suffering from the 1979 energy crisis, adding to the creation of the Mad Max universe.
Another common sight in the Mad Max series is the extreme weather, such as massive heat waves and widespread drought. But what causes this outlandish weather? The answer to this question is directly related to the oil we just talked about. In Mad Max's society, they have used up all the oil, thus causing climate change. So with all of the exhaust from the oil products being pumped into the atmosphere, mankind has created a harsher climate to live in. But how realistic is this climate change stuff? Well, many scientists can argue we have already started to go down this path climate change-wise. Every year, we see harsher weather, such as massive hurricanes and more droughts. The overall temperature of the Earth over the years has went up drastically. Post the industrialization, the Earth has warmed up 1.4 degrees from 1880 till now. Now, 1.4 degrees doesn't sound like a ton, but that is enough to melt the ice caps and cause abnormalities in the weather. So if we keep using up our oil and pump our waste into the atmosphere, we might just see some extreme weather that is shown in Mad Max.
The last topic we would like to talk about today is how society acts in Mad Max. Society breaks down drastically in the series, but why? You would think that society would unite better because we're all faced with the danger of living in a post-apocalyptic world. Well, that's where we're wrong in several aspects. People who are given power over other people will sometimes harm others. Let's look at the famous experiment to prove this, the Stanford Prison Experiment. In 1971, Stanford's psychology department, under the guise of Philip Zimbardo, decided they wanted to do scientific research on the effects of being imprisoned. They split the students in the department into two parts, guards and prisoners, and created a mock prison. Prisoners were locked up and forced into prison jumpsuits, while guards got nice uniforms and power. Soon after the experiment started, the guards who were in power forced the prisoners to be chained up and wear bags over their head. The guards oppressed the prisoners, who were really just their normal classmates. This proves the point. If people are in power, they will oppress others. Now how does this relate back to Mad Max? Easy. Why be equal with someone when you can be superior? In Mad Max, there is no law holding people to a common standard of good, so that brings about the rise of factions who harm each other to prove that they are superior to one another.
Speaking of laws, Mad Max seems almost lawless. Sure, there is the Main Force Patrol, which acts as a police, but in reality, they are very weak compared to all the bandits. So it can be gathered that when the society wanes, people break down into a barbaric state. A prime example of this is the Dark Age. The last Dark Age of humanity was between the 5th century and the 15th century. That time period saw a massive flux of bandits, or highwaymen. So, who's to say bandits won't rise again in another 50 years? But speaking of bandits, we have the last issue. There's a term in psychology called political polarization, and this has nothing to do with the upcoming election. This means that people with similar views group together. So if you feel pillaging and killing is the right thing to do, you will hunt down other bandits who share the same viewpoint. And if you feel truth and justice is the right thing, you will find that group. Kind of a sheep to shepherd mentality.
Overall, Mad Max is shockingly more realistic than we thought. The current state of the oil reserves worry many, along with the ever-rising temperature of the earth creating extreme weather. Finally, how society acts creates a catalyst for the rise of clans and factions, like that we would see in Mad Max. But we have time to fix these problems, like reducing our energy dependence, so maybe Mad Max is just a work of fiction. But, just in case, I'm thinking about buying a Pursuit Special, like in the movies. The price is only $105,000. So, I guess it's time to break the piggy bank. And on that mad note, this is Brody and the New Age Gamers, wishing you a great day.